What if Yuta eats Sukuna's finger and become his vessel instead of Yuji? How would that change the story? Yuta is one of the only 4 special grade sorcerers. Due to his connection with Rika, he has a massive amount of curse energy. If Yuta became Sukuna's vessel, the clash between the king and the queen of curses will be wild. Sukuna might try to absorb Rika or kill her, or worse, he tries to manipulate her, turning her against Yuta. With that, he will create a battle of wills inside Yuta. With that being said, let's dive deep into our story. The higher-ups will know about the presence of a cursed object in the high school. In the original timeline, Yuta was studying overseas at this time, but in our story, he will be in Japan. Instead of Gojo, they will send Yuta to check up on the situation. Once he arrived at the school, he found a curse surrounding Yuji and he managed to save him. In a shocking decision, Yuta decided to eat Sukuna's finger, thinking that by doing so, he would be able to protect the cursed object. Immediately after eating the finger, Sukuna was able to take control of his body for a few moments. Having taken control of Yuji's body, Sukuna plans to start a massacre when Yuta suddenly takes back his body. It was at this moment that Gojo came. After learning what happened, he asked Yuta to give Sukuna control but switch back after 10 seconds. After Yuta switches back, Gojo simply knocks him out. The higher-ups decide to execute him, which means the death of both Rika and Sukuna. But Gojo will convince them to make Yuta eat all the fingers, then they can kill him. Then Gojo gives him the second finger to test his resistance. Before we continue, you might be wondering why Yuta regained control of his body. Unlike Yuji, Yuta is already an incredibly skilled and experienced sorcerer, which means Sukuna would have a much harder time fully taking over his body. Yuta's immense cursed energy reserves could allow him to resist Sukuna's influence for longer periods, giving Yuta more control over his body and Sukuna's techniques. However, Sukuna might still tempt Yuta with even more power, trying to erode Yuta's will. In Yuji's case, it was his unique body, but in Yuta's, it was Rika who was able to suppress the King of Curses' control, because his strength is only equal to 1 finger. Now that Yuta has become Sukuna's new vessel, what will happen to Yuji? Well, he will not be a part of the Jujutsu world, and he will spend his life as normal human, with immense physical strength, I guess. Yuta will replace Yuji, and everything will be the same, as Yuta will eat the fingers in the same order as Yuji did in the Shibuya incident arc. Yuta will be fed 10 of Sukuna's fingers. In our story, Yuta will stay unconscious. An internal battle starts inside his subconscious between Rika and Sukuna. So, who would win? Rika is definitely strong and could probably beat Sukuna, but not at his 100%. She would be stronger than him, but only when talking about Sukuna having maybe half his fingers or a little more. Rika is strong by herself, but to truly be the monster that she is, she needs to be used in tandem with Yuta. Just like when Yuta copied Inumaki's power, Rika would not be able to do this by herself. Without Yuta ordering her, she would probably go wild and not think too deeply about the fight. While Sukuna does not need anyone to boost him, he has his own thoughts and is actually stronger without his vessel. He thinks about what moves to make and does not need someone to tell him what to do. In a fight, Rika's priority will be protecting Yuta's mind. So if he was ever in danger, she would probably leave herself wide open, while Sukuna does not care about what happens to his body since he can just regenerate it or live without it, like he did with Yuji's heart and hands. Rika attacks Sukuna with a massive surge of cursed energy, fueled by her fierce bond with Yuta. Sukuna counters her attack using his dismantle, slicing through her attacks effortlessly. Sukuna mocks Rika and call her a mere tool, but this will not affect her. Rika believes that she's not a tool for Yuta. Fueled by her love and need to protect him, Rika unleashes a stronger attack. Sukuna was amused by her attempts. He unleashes his malevolent shrine, creating a domain expansion within Yuta's mind. The overwhelming power of his cursed technique starts tearing Rika apart. Sukuna was interested in Rika and her powers, so instead of killing her, he decided to spare her life and locked her. Now, Sukuna has full control over Yuta and Rika. After he wakes up, he will go directly to Megumi, because in all scenarios, Sukuna will never be able to beat Satoru Gojo if there is no Mahoraga. As we know, Sukuna is the fast learner in the entire world. During Megumi's fight with Harota, he summons many Shikigami before summoning Mahoraga as a last resort. Sukuna will keep learning how to summon different Shikigami including Mahoraga. Now, Sukuna is able to summon them, but he needs to copy the innate technique to make things easier. The copy technique is still not fully explained. The conditions under which he can do so are unknown, but one of the methods is consumption. After defeating Mahoraga, Sukuna consumed Megumi's hand, and by that, he copied the 10 Shadows technique. But will he be able to summon them? It was said in the manga that a 10 Shadows user is given 2 divine dogs to begin with once the technique manifests, and others are then summoned and tamed. This is a gradual process. Unlike Geto's cursed spirit manipulation, these Shikigami are quite specific to the technique, so I think Yuta, if he were to copy, he will able to use every Shikigami in the 10 Shadows. Now, we need to know if Sukuna can use multiple domain expansions. A domain expansion is basically just expanding your innate technique and trapping a target within it. Sukuna's domain is a bit different. Instead of trapping a target, it grants an escape route, so the radius of the domain expansion is much bigger. So if he has multiple techniques, he should be able to use multiple domains. With that being said, Sukuna can use 2 different domain expansions. He can copy any technique and has the access to the 10 Shadows. Sukuna becomes so powerful at the moment. So how his fight against Gojo would be? On the other hand, Gojo will be freed from the prison realm with the help of the angel. Sukuna will give him no time. The fight between the strongest will start right after the unseal. The fight starts with Sukuna testing Gojo. Sukuna immediately uses Inumaki's cursed speech, commanding Gojo to explode. The cursed speech attack threatens to blow Gojo apart, but the latter calmly activates Infinity, which is the ability that prevents any physical or cursed energy from touching him. Sukuna uses Cleave and Dismantle, trying to break through Gojo's defenses. Gojo responds by using the blue. He manipulates the space around to pull Sukuna towards him. The clash continues while Sukuna pushing Yuta's body to its limits. Sukuna releases that Gojo is not an ordinary opponent. The King of Curses summons Rika and combines his energy with her, which made him able to summon the 10 Shadows Shikigamis. Realizing that even Rika and the 10 Shadows are not enough to bring down Gojo, Sukuna decides to drop his winning card. He summons Mahoraga, the most powerful Shikigami of the 10 Shadows technique. Mahoraga's ability to adapt to any technique makes it the key to bypass Gojo's infinity. The spinning wheel begins to turn again and again during the fight. Gojo decides to end the battle by unleashing his domain expansion. The infinite paralysis caused by the overload of information threatens to trap Sukuna in a world where time and space lose meaning, but he also activates his domain. Sukuna keeps switching between the malevolent shrine and the pure mutual love. In the end, Sukuna, empowered by Yuta's copying abilities and Mahoraga's adaptation, breaks through Gojo's infinity and lands the world-cutting slash, ending Gojo's life forever. Of course, everyone will die after Gojo as a new Heian era starts. If you want to survive Sukuna's wrath, make sure to watch this video about the first sorcerer in Jujutsu world. See you in the next video.